Find out what you're getting into. Demonic Side of Globalism has the quotations from Madame Blavatsky on Luciferianism and the Dark Side of Freemasonry. There's 2 books we carry here. Thank you. But please look into it, because I will tell you, a lot of good people have got sucked into this, and the deeper you get, the more it begins to possess you.
But I don't believe that Jesus Christ is the Lord of all, being a Jewish person, and I believe that there is a lot of truth before Christ was supposedly born on this earth. So if that's the basis you're coming from, I don't agree with that, because what we study in Theosophy comes from philosophies long before Jesus Christ, from Sanskrit and Hindu and Eastern religions.
It sure does. And where do those Eastern religions come from? And what is their source of their power? What is the source of the power of the Eastern religions? And of course, it's Lucifer. But I hope that you really will look into this, and I hope it will bring you to the same understanding that I've come to through 68 years of study. Yes.
Yes, I have a question of many names, I guess, of Luciferian backers. Are there a shorter list of names who are anti-Lucifer?
Well, there's just 2 people. I mean, there's God and Lucifer, and then they've got their disciples on both sides. And I would like to think that I'm on the good side, but Lucifer has a lot of disciples out here, and they really are people who are Luciferian. They really do believe that, you see, what worship of Lucifer does, if you worship Lucifer, then you become your own God. And you remember the serpent's message in the Garden of Eden, if you eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, then you could be as God. Well, if you don't worship the God of heaven and you worship Lucifer, then you can become your own God. You can do whatever you want to. You determine what's right and wrong. But in the final analysis, then you don't need the Bible, you don't need God, you don't need salvation, you don't need a Savior. And that's really what this whole battle is all about. And if they can convince you, in fact, there's one quotation that we have, if you're interested, I could read it. It comes from Albert Pike. The true name of Satan is Yahweh, reversed. For Satan is not a black god, but the negation of God. The devil is the personification of atheism or idolatry. For the initiates, this is not a person, but a force created for good, but which may serve for evil. It is the instrument of liberty and free will. And you can be free if you worship Lucifer. But the trouble is there's really no freedom unless there are restraints, and those restraints come from God.
Including yourself, what are the top 10 that we could follow their teachings?
I'm sorry?
Along with yourself, who are the top 10 anti-Lucifer?
Don't follow my teachings. I have nothing to offer. I just repeat what I learned from the Bible in my studies. If you read the Bible, you follow the Lord. That's the person you follow. Don't follow for me or anybody else.
Hello, Mr. Monteith. This is the second time I've heard you. I heard you the other day on Cape Wright. My question is this. You just stated, if I heard you correctly, that Yahweh reversed is Satan?
That's what Albert Pike said.
That's what Albert Pike said,
right.
Okay.
I quoted that from Morals and Dogma. If you want the exact page, I can give it for you.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious because I've been following Zechariah Sitchin's work.
You good?
Who? Zechariah Sitchin. Mm-hmm. You probably haven't heard of him. He's been researching the ancient texts of the Sumerians and so forth. But the name is very pronounced the same way, Yahweh, or Yahweh. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I was just curious when I had heard that.
I'm just telling you what Pike says.
Okay.
And what he's saying is, if you really want to be free, then you worship the devil. That's where you get liberty. And that's why people worship Satan, because now they can become gods. They can create a perfect society without God. They can create a new world order. And that's what they're all about. They are going to create a one new world utopian order without God.
Okay. My other question is this. Do you think the Masons are following similar traditions of the Egyptians?
Yes. This all goes back, the Masonry goes back to Gnosticism. It goes back to the Kabbalah. It goes back to the mystery religions. And have you ever read Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma?
No, sir,
Most
I've not.
fascinating book. You can usually find it in used bookstores. It's been actively suppressed. Every Mason is supposed to turn it back into the lodge, but often when they die, they just give it to a used bookstore. And you can find a copy, or you can come up to my library and spend a couple of weeks reading it. But he will explain to you this all has to do with the mysteries, and that's what the significance of the symbol is on the back of the dollar bill. We as a nation have gone over to the dark side. Now you have to understand that from the very inception of America, there have been two forces at work. One was the Masonic occult mystery religion, and the other was the Christian. And the Christian predominated really up until the time of Roosevelt, and then, of course, in 1935, under the urging of Henry Wallace, the Secretary of Agriculture, why they put that symbol on the back of our dollar bill, and we've been going down ever since then, as the occult influences have simply overwhelmed the Christian influences in this country. And it's about time the Christians stood up, because there are a lot more of us than there are of them.
Yeah,
And we've got right, and we've got God on our side, but we don't call on him. And are we really worthy of his intervention?
Well, the thing that has bothered me is that people always say, leave it to God, leave it to God. And I know Gary Schnell will comment on this briefly, but I am of the opinion that, and I'm looking for this in the scriptures too, it says that we have to act with God in order to make change. And that's what my position is.
Well, I think that we are to act, and we're to pray to God. And we're not going to get him to intervene. He's going to intervene when he's good and ready to. Right. We can't tell him what to do. Maybe we may want to. Occasionally, when I'm under demonic attack, I can actually use my power as a Christian to defeat that demonic attack. I think anybody can who really loves the Lord. But we are involved in a spiritual battle, and we're just little grains of sand down here, but we just do our best. We're called to be the salt and the light of the earth. We're called to recognize that we struggle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the forces of the darkness of this earth, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And what are we to do? Put ye on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. And boy, have you ever seen more evil days than we have right now.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Yes. Ephesians 6.
I was waiting for someone else to ask this, but I guess I'll have to do it. Where do Washington and Jefferson and Adams fit into your scheme?
All right. Washington was a Mason, but he was not into the occult aspect of it at all. He was a sincere Christian. And as he began to, he attended some Masonic meetings early on, but he wasn't a regular attendee, and I don't think he ever recognized the occult influence. He certainly wrote letters condemning the influence of the Illuminati, which was trying to get into America in the 1790s. So, in my estimation, Washington was a good Christian, but you have to understand that when America was founded, this was a treasonous act of treason against the crown, and these men's lives were in danger, and so many of them went into the Masonic Lodge because here they could have secret meetings and they could plot the overthrow of the British monarchy without fear of exposure. At least they hoped that. Now, Thomas Jefferson was a Mason, and he really was involved with all of the with the occult, really. He believed in a deity, but he didn't believe in Jesus Christ, although he called himself a Christian, and I have his writings where he did. He did not believe that Christ was God, nor in the supernatural. If you ever read the Jefferson Bible, you see what he really believed. I believe Adams was a Christian. In fact, Adams had a falling out with Jefferson because of his Masonic beliefs. And certainly Adams felt very, very strongly that Jefferson was betraying this dream that they had of creating a Christian republic. So you see this conflict. Certainly Benjamin Franklin was strongly involved with the occult, as was Thomas Paine. And we could talk about the secret Georgia Guidestones, which I mentioned last time I was here, in Elberton, Georgia, this occult monument back in Georgia, which is really dedicated to Thomas Paine. If you read the background in the books we've uncovered since then, Thomas Paine was brought to America by Benjamin Franklin. Thomas Paine then was a professional revolutionary who went to France to create the revolution there. In fact, the whole world revolutionary movement has its foundation in the occult. America was the only nation that had a revolution where we had a strong Protestant ethic, and America then created a free society. In France, they had the revolution, and they went right back into dictatorship. The same thing happened in all the countries of Europe.
I think you said Washington and Adams